here with my husband voice more so that certain people can see that I have a support system that is a 6'1" truck driver who towers over me, that when I talk to him, I literally have to look up to him. And he watches what goes on. He's present for the phone calls when I call to talk to our sons. He is well aware of what I post for content. He has known since the first day that we met, because I am very blunt, and I am very open about what I have been through. And I also want to talk about when I went through the custody trial, the court. Mistake Carl made, Carl Edward Anthony. He should have ordered a psych eval if he wanted to convince everyone that I was mentally ill, and he didn't. And it was after I had to visit my kids at a United Methodist Church that was under the same administration that employed my father, who sexually assaulted me. It was after that I went through a psych eval, and I was diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder. So what happened with that? Well, I spent 9 days in a psych ward. I was diagnosed with PTSD, and the psych ward contacted CPS and reported Carl Edward Anthony for child abuse. That's how that worked out. It didn't benefit Carl. And I was saying the same thing before, during, and after my diagnosis of post-traumatic stress disorder. Oh, and it gets better. Because today I found out that someone in my family, because I know it wasn't Carl, because, you know, he's pretty stupid, but I don't think he would be this dumb. However, here's what happened. Someone filled out information for a psychiatric hospital here in Houston that is one of the psychiatric hospitals that my son has been an inpatient at more than once. And anyway, personal information was shared by someone in my family who posed as me, which is identity theft, by the way, saying that I needed help. And they did it with a psychiatric hospital that is a psychiatric hospital where my son in the past has been an inpatient more than once. In fact, any psych ward in the Houston area that has a pediatric unit, I've been in. And why is that? Because my son has been an inpatient there. So good job. I've also contacted a mental health organization and give them a heads up that someone may be calling posing as me, or filling out online information posing as me, saying that I'm mentally ill. In fact, it might be an organization where I know the CEO personally, and I've stayed in their home. So keep in mind, when you want to pose as me, I know a lot of people, and I do mean a lot. I'm not talking about in the hundreds. That's where my family doesn't know me very well. I grew up in a large administration. I've lived pretty much all over Texas, Northeast Texas, Panhandle, Houston area, Beaumont area. I know a lot of people. And I have thousands, I would say over 20,000 followers over multiple platforms who know who I am because I have openly shared my story, and I've been very open about retaliation that I've experienced from the Texas Annual Conference administration in downtown Houston. And they clearly know that hasn't worked out well for them. And the fact that I can sit here calmly and talk about my experience and what is going on, and that my personal information is being shared, which is a crime, stating that I am mentally ill. The fact that I can sit here calmly and talk about that, that's a testament in and of itself. And let me tell you, these pediatric psychiatric units are not for the weak. They are hell on earth. And I have had to sit in those units. In fact, this psych hospital that was contacted, that was given my personal information by an extended family member who was retaliating against me for exposing abuse and their involvement, I sat in that ward holding my child crying because he was so heavily sedated, because he was diagnosed with a very debilitating psychiatric disorder. He, this is not something that anyone wants to go through. But go ahead, because you're digging a hole for yourself. I've provided receipts upon receipts, and I have far more integrity and courage. And here's the thing, my extended family, they know abuse has been going on. Joyce Matthews knows abuse has been going on, and not once have they ever reported it. And Joyce Matthews and her daughters have experience working in childcare, and they know abuse has been going on, which means that they are mandated reporters by the state of Texas. And by contacting psychiatric hospitals that have my ex-husband's personal info and mine, because we've had a son that has been an inpatient there that has a triple diagnosis, is not beneficial to you. And it shows the level of your stupidity. In fact, I have not seen a lot of my extended family in more than a decade. I haven't seen Joyce since 2012. So if I haven't seen Joyce in 2012, what would make her an expert on my mental health? He's also been watching. He has no interest in knowing my family. He's seen what they're made of.
Yeah, I have. And I'm going to make this kind of clear to her extended family. You're interfering with something you don't need to be interfering with. First off, it's going to make me angry because you're messing with her. and the children. It's none of your business. You need to step out of it, step aside, leave it alone. To the person or persons, I don't know who it was or where they were, that's signing her up for stuff, giving out her personal information, her phone number, giving it to a psychiatric hospital, pretending to be her. That's a good way to commit a crime. You're doing something you really should not be doing ever. Um,
And by the way, let me fill you in on what happens in the event that I'm in a 72-hour hold. Let me fill you in. I tell them the same thing I'm saying on social media, and then guess what? Carl Edward Anthony is reported to CPS by the psychiatric ward. That's how that works out, you see. I have valid evidence of child abuse, and I don't play when it comes to child abuse. I survived, and I'm going to make damn sure that I didn't survive in vain. And my children are going through it now, and things are not okay in the home. When one child is telling the other child that he wants him to die a slow and painful death, and he's been hospitalized multiple times, this is not good. And I can guarantee you, even promise you, that in the event anything happens to our sons, anyone socially involved with Carl Edward Anthony will be questioned by law enforcement. I have put my life out there, which has not been easy, but I was willing to do it. This has destroyed my life. It has harmed my sons. And my family interfering and making it worse is absolutely sick. You people are disgusting. You really are. And you should be ashamed of yourselves. My sons are minors. And the post that I have been putting out is for the purpose of shining a light on abuse. And putting out there that Carl can come and put his hands around my neck like he did to our son in 2016 is bold. But I am willing to make that statement and stand behind it. Because one thing I will not tolerate is abuse towards our sons. And what you are doing is harassing and retaliating against someone who's already experienced it from a multi-billion-dollar administration. And even that didn't work, because here I am talking about it. And what are they doing? Nothing. Because why? What they learned from that is that I'm going to go on video on the internet and talk about all of their dirty laundry. That hasn't worked out well. And this is a commitment I made to myself and to my kids. Because when you have people in the home saying things to other people outside of the home and within the home that they want them to die, this is dangerous. It is sick and it is dangerous. And the term for it is homicidal ideations. And in the event anything happens to our sons, everything I've put out on the internet is subject to investigation. And I'm okay with that. And considering how cowardly the rest of my family is, and they've had no interest in standing up against child abuse, they need to back off, because you're digging a hole for yourself legally. Because if you send anyone to our address, and anybody who makes a false report regarding my mental health, that will backfire legally. And considering the fact that there's child abuse allegations involved in this, and evidence of child abuse that has never been properly handled or ethically handled by the people that were responsible in handling it, that's not going to be good for you. Because what you're going to be asked is, what did you do? Joyce hasn't even seen me around our sons, and she had that opportunity. She agreed to help with the visitations, but she found it more beneficial to be friends with my ex-husband, who's involved in child abuse. So if you're going to associate yourself with a child abuser, the only thing I have left to do is to assume you must be okay with child abuse behind closed doors. You must support it. If you're not going to speak out against it, then you must support it. Because I am willing to put myself at risk of being hated by everyone. Because I know about the hell that I went through, and I know the hell my sons are going through, our sons. And this is all I've had to fight back.